Welcome to the deep dive. We're your shortcut through, well, all the noise in these really complex technical fields.
Yeah.
If you've ever felt just, swamped by software updates or you're trying to figure out what really matters in all the new info, you're definitely in the right place today.
Mm.
Today we're doing a deep dive. We're going to pull out the most important bits from some recent talks, recent updates on a brand new version of Logibus software.
That's right.
Our mission really is to understand this new approach it takes to mapping. They're calling it a huge simplification. We want to know why.
Exactly. And our source material for this, we've got some detailed notes and a full transcript, actually, from this really interesting meeting. Franz Hupfinger and Andy were there, giving a really in-depth look at this new Logibus version.
Okay.
Covered everything, installation, how it works. So yeah, we're here to kind of synthesize what this all means for efficiency, development, the whole user experience going forward.
Okay, let's jump right in then. This thing they're calling the revolution in Logibus. The big headline seems to be that this new version, it completely overhauls mapping.
It does.
Franz Hupfinger apparently really stressed that the old version, the one with all that heavy manual mapping, that's not going to be maintained anymore.
Right. Which means users will have to shift. There's no way around it.
But it sounds like a good shift, a leap forward.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What's fascinating here, I think, is just how significant removing that complex mapping layer really is in software development.
Right.
Franz called it an enormous simplification. And honestly, that's probably not an exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Mapping before, it was tedious, right? All manual, a real bottleneck.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But now, apparently, a resource, maybe an exercise file that was already mapped, it needs hardly any adjustments.
Wow. Okay.
So that just streamlines the whole workflow, especially, like you said, for new users. They used to hit this really steep, often frustrating learning curve with mapping.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of flips the focus.
Yeah.
Less painstaking setup, more actual, creative development.
That really does sound like it removes a major hurdle. Okay, so say you're ready. You want to embrace this new, simpler Logibus. What's the setup actually look like?
Franz and Andy laid out some steps, right?
Yeah, they did. Some crucial ones for a smooth start. Basically, two main files you need to get. Training 1 release 019 and the milestone of the 4Ac IDE.
Okay, where do you get those?
GitHub and Google Drive, respectively. And here's a key tip from their discussion, something you see sometimes with specialized software.
Yeah.
Use 7-zip to unpack the ZIP files, not the standard Windows unzipper.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, they found the Windows tool can sometimes mess up specific config files inside Logibus's archives. It leads to these subtle, annoying issues later on.
Okay. Good heads up.
Yeah, and they also recommend extracting directly to a specific root directory, something simple like CICIBIS. Just helps avoid pathing errors, keeps things clean.
Makes sense. Little things that prevent big headaches later. What about the desktop shortcut for the IDE?
Right, Franz mentioned that too. Don't just copy the .exe file.
Well, these complex IDEs like 4Ac, they often rely on specific registry entries or relative paths to work correctly.
Ah, okay.
So using the right-click menu, the Send to Desktop Create Shortcut option, that actually ensures it's set up properly within the system. Helps avoid those weird runtime errors you sometimes get.
Got it. Okay, good practice. And workspace selection.
Crucial, especially for first-timers.
Yeah.
Franz really highlighted this. You absolutely must select the correct workspace folder in 4Ac IDE. It needs to be the final directory in the path.
The very last one.
Exactly. The IDE expects a very specific structure, and if it's not right, you'll get errors.
Okay, now here's something that caught my eye. Performance optimization.
Yes, the Defender exclusion.
Right. They strongly recommend excluding the 4Ac IDE from Microsoft Defender scans. That sounds a bit risky.
Well, it's not about being negligent with security. It's because 4Ac is known. It's a trusted program from the Eclipse Foundation. Defender's real-time scanning, it means well, but it can really slow down the IDE's startup and runtime, especially with bigger projects.
I see, so it's a trade-off.
Exactly. Disabling it just for 4Ac
Yeah.
gives you a noticeable speed boost in your daily work. It's a practical tweak.
Okay, that makes sense. A smart performance tip then. Now, let's maybe shift gears a bit. Look at the longer-term picture. Hardware, firmware.
Yeah, there's an interesting internal discussion going on about evolving the Logibus hardware.
What's the idea?
Specifically, keeping the first 4 outputs the same, but equipping the latter 4 outputs with H-bridges.
H-bridges. Okay, unpack that a bit. What does that enable?
Right, so connecting this to the bigger picture, an H-bridge is basically an electronic circuit. Lets you apply voltage across something like a motor in either direction.
Ah, so forwards and backwards control for electric motors.
Exactly. And that sounds like a small change, maybe, but it would massively expand the system's versatility.
How so?
Well, currently, Logibus is often kind of limited to things like hydraulic valves, solenoid valves. Adding H-bridges makes it way more universal. It could control a much wider range of electric actuators. It's really about future-proofing the system for more diverse uses.
That does sound like a significant upgrade in what it can do. And getting these new hardware features working, there's a firmware process involved for the Hutchin-Moppet device?
Yeah, that's the specific device name they used. You connect it via USB, and you have to flash the Alpha 03 firmware onto it.
Okay.
And that includes the bootloader, the little program that starts everything up, and the partition table, which organizes the storage on the device. It's a fundamental step.
A foundational step, yeah.
Precise, it is. And just on that note, related to deployment and stability, access to this specific Alpha 03 firmware, it's actually restricted right now.
Oh, okay. To who?
Only to students or actual customers of the Logibus system, which kind of emphasizes that they're rolling it out in a structured, supported way initially.
Got it. Okay, moving on then. Connectivity, device identity, INI files, manufacturer codes. Sounds like some details there.
There are. Prince and Andy noted something important. After a major version jump, like this one, the INI files on that Hutchin-Moppet device, they aren't automatically generated anymore.
Oh. Is that a bug?
No. Apparently, it's a deliberate design choice. You have to recreate them manually to ensure everything's compatible with the new version.
Okay, requires a bit more user action then.
And they also clarified the two AI modes, access point and client, and the role of X in the SSID, the network name.
What's the XFux?
It's actually a pretty smart, practical detail. It's used for unique device identification.
Ah, so if you have multiple devices nearby.
Exactly. It stops them from conflicting when they try to connect. Which, raises an interesting point, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, in a huge ecosystem like iSOVIS, how challenging is it to maintain standardization and device identity when even basic config files need manual work after updates? It really speaks to the complexity you're dealing with.
That's a really good point. The practical side of managing a big network. And speaking of standards, Frantz walked through the functionalities .ini file.
He did. He highlighted a key distinction. Part 6 AUX input. That's specifically for joysticks.
Okay.
Versus just Part 6, which is for other general functions. The iSOVIS norm itself is apparently quite strict about this.
In what way?
It basically says a single device can't have multiple identities. It can't be registered on the network as, say, both a joystick and a slurry tank at the same time.
Ah, okay. It enforces clarity. One device, one primary function on the bus.
Exactly. And then you have the manufacturer codes in the device INI file.
Right, like the examples 1116 for H-Grad Technik, 1134 for Meisterschule and Ostbahnhof München.
Yep. Those codes are vital for device recognition across the whole iSOVIS network. You can apply for them via isobis.net.
Sounds like there's a catch.
There is a real-world challenge, Frantz pointed out. Applying for a code might be relatively quick, but getting that new or updated code onto all the existing iSOVIS displays out in the field, through firmware updates,
Takes time.
it can take 2 to 3 years.
Wow. 2 to 3 years for full propagation. That really highlights the pace of updates in that industry. Slow and steady.
Definitely methodical.
Okay, so let's get to the real heart of this no mapping revolution then. The new development workflow.
Yes.
One of the biggest pluses sounds like the dynamic changes. You can change inputs and outputs right inside an exercise now.
Yeah, without leaving it, without reconfiguring everything. Imagine just switching input I1 to input I2 or Q1 to Q2, just like that, on the fly. It's a huge time saver.
That sounds amazing compared to the old way.
It's a truly profound simplification. And what's really striking, I think, is that the names you give the blocks, they're now totally independent of their instance names.
Explain that a bit more. Why is that significant?
Well, in the old rigid mapping system, the name was often tied directly to the function, which was a critical constraint. It led to some really awkward naming sometimes.
Right.
Now, you could literally name an input block Hans if you wanted to, and it works fine. It just gives you so much more flexibility, makes the code potentially more readable, more intuitive. It gets rid of a layer of forced abstraction.
Yeah, exactly. And for beginners, you mentioned this earlier, it sounds much more forgiving.
Incredibly forgiving.
Yeah.
It gives you immediate error feedback. If you accidentally type, say, I-17 for an input that doesn't exist on your hardware,
It tells you right away.
instantly.
Yeah.
which prevents those frustrating situations where you build something, try to run it, and it just doesn't work because of a typo you made way back in the mapping phase.
Oh, that avoids so much pain. And event handling, also simpler.
Streamlined, yeah. Things like single-click button-up events, you can just assign them by copying the correct string right out of the type library.
The type library. That's like a reference list.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sort of database that defines all the available functions, values for soft keys, other things like that. It's all organized there.
Okay. And speaking of soft keys, there are enhancements there too.
Mm-hmm. More nuanced control options. There's held start now.
Held start.
Yeah, it activates a function only on the first press when you hold a button down long, not continuously firing while you hold it.
Ah, okay. Useful for certain actions.
Exactly. And then there's long press up. That triggers the function only when you release the button after holding it down for a while.
More granular control for interaction designers.
Definitely. It offers developers more tools.
That precision will definitely be appreciated. Okay. And this new sub-application function, that sounds like a big deal for productivity.
Oh, it's huge. It means you can copy and paste entire blocks of code, like logical sections of your program.
Without needing to manually remap everything inside them.
Exactly. Which was a massive pain point before. You'd copy something and then spend ages fixing all the internal mapping references. Now it seems to just work.
That's fantastic. Now, being pragmatic, Franz and Adi did find something during their meeting, didn't they? A bug.
They did, yeah. It highlights that even revolutionary software is still, software, it's iterative.
Yeah.
They pinpointed a known issue where copying blocks can sometimes lead to this error. Map to multiple handles.
Okay, so something they're aware of and likely working on.
Presumably, yes.
Yeah.
It just shows the system is actively evolving, even as they're explaining its benefits.
So thinking about this whole new workflow, what really stands out to you compared to the old way? Is it the instant feedback, the naming freedom, the sub-apps?
Tough call. I think maybe the combination of the immediate error, feedback for beginners, and the sheer ease of reusing code with sub-applications, that feels like the biggest leap in the day-to-day experience of developing, even with that known bug.
Yeah, I agree. That developer experience jump seems key. Okay, let's quickly touch on some troubleshooting, recovery, optimization stuff they mentioned, working with older projects.
Right. If you have an older master project, the strategy they shared is delete the existing type library folder within that project,
Okay.
and then copy a newer compatible version of the type library into the project. That type library file is really the central definition, so it needs to match the version you're using.
Got it. Update the definitions. And what if you accidentally delete something? We've all done it.
Yeah, inevitable oops moments. There are recovery paths. If you delete a whole folder, say 002 cub, first check the Windows recycle bin. Often, you can just restore it from there.
Standard Windows recovery.
Right. But if you deleted an individual file, like maybe 20C2 inside the project, the Virk program itself, that's the visual environment for Logibus, it has a restore from local history function.
Ah, like version control built in.
Sort of, yeah. It lets you roll back individual files to previous save states. A real lifesaver sometimes.
Brilliant. Okay. And visual clarity, making things easier to see in Virk.
Yeah, a simple display setting tweak they recommend for the mapping overview diagram.
Yeah.
In the settings, configure the maximum block size to 60 and the minimum to 0.
Max 60, min 0. What does that do?
It sounds minor, but it basically makes the diagram use the full width of the display better. Makes complex mappings much easier to actually read and follow.
Nice little usability tip.
Okay.
Diving deeper into event configuration, soft keys, OINs.
They got specific. For soft keys, they said use the soft key activation code event, but specifically with a released state trigger.
So trigger on release.
Right. And for OIN events, they talked about using an O-disabled start event to capture state changes. But here's a nuance to watch out for.
Yeah.
The trigger frequency. Some events, like certain OIN ones, might report their status constantly, maybe every 200 milliseconds. Others only trigger when the state actually changes.
Ah, okay. Need to know which is which for precise control.
Exactly. Understanding that difference is key.
And finally, configuring digital inputs like I4 and their events.
Right. In Virk, they showed you can use wildcards asterisks to simplify setting up associated events. Makes it a bit quicker.
Sounds like a caveat again.
There is. Franz emphasized that even if you use wildcards for convenience, the actual event names you use must still come from the official isobusys norm. They have to be valid names.
Can't just make things up.
No.
Yeah.
And he also made a plea, essentially, for better documentation around these specific configurations. More examples would be really helpful, especially for new users trying to figure this out.
Understandable. Good documentation is always welcome. Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've looked at this huge no mapping feature in the new Logibus.
Yeah, huge simplification.
Walk through some critical installation tips, the hardware future, network details, and this much, much smoother development workflow. It really feels like a monumental step forward, making complex tech more accessible, more efficient.
Absolutely. And Franz Hepfner and Andi, they've put together this comprehensive guide based on their work, especially aimed at helping next year's master students get started smoothly. It's a collaborative effort to ease the transition.
That's great to hear.
Indeed. And maybe the final thought, this shift, right? From really complex manual mapping to something more automated, more symbolic, it fundamentally changes how we interact with the technology. It abstracts away a whole layer of complexity.
Yeah.
So maybe consider, how might this trend, this move towards unmapping and deeper abstraction, how might it reshape other areas in your daily life, your work? Could it simplify other complex tasks, but maybe require a different kind of understanding underneath?
How many other systems out there are waiting for their own unmapping revolution?
Exactly. Something to ponder.
A very compelling question. Okay, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. We really hope you feel a bit more informed and maybe even excited about the future of Logibus. Thanks for joining us.